Thank you for joining us. Our program today focuses on the Fischler School of Education Distance Education Museum. Dr. Abraham Fischler, President Emeritus of NSU, Nova Southeastern University, is a featured speaker. The ribbon cutting and speeches follows these messages.
We are all honored by your presence, Dr. Fischler, and it's my delight to welcome you to the podium to say a few words. Thank you. My friend, Dr. Abraham S. Fischler.
Thank you for all those kind words and exaggerated statements. This is far more than I anticipated, a larger crowd than I anticipated. And I put this sheet down that my wife handed me this morning because all of you deserve a great deal of thanks for putting this together. It was an easy task when more hands were involved, and it got easier as more people got involved. And as you can see, it brought forth a group like this. I don't deserve all this, I really don't, because my philosophy emanates from the reason I left Berkeley to come here. My philosophy was that people needed ownership and responsibility for doing what they could do well. And we can bring people from all over the country to help develop a university because they were looking for something that was challenging and we were at the same time. And so it was easier to recruit my colleagues from Harvard and from Stanford and from universities all over the country. And it was because of the way they came and spoke at various organizational contests between the Nova University and the field of change that we were able to make the changes, because even in the North Carolina courts, where we took North Carolina, we won. Now, what did we win? We won the opportunity to use technology and to bring a university to where people wanted to learn in an environment where they had colleagues who also wanted to learn. And they could learn by sitting in their chairs, or they can learn by doing and impacting what they were responsible for doing. And that was to bring change in public education, whether it be at the community college level or at K-12 level or superintendent's level. They were responsible to impact because they couldn't get a degree without doing a practicum. And the practicum was finding a problem within their responsible area and bringing about the kind of change that they wanted to see occur in the larger environment. And so it fitted in with a time when we were going through, especially in education, a change in the populations of people that wanted to be involved in education. Remember, we had a segregated society until 1964. It wasn't until 1964 that Fort Lauderdale and Broward County allowed minorities to move into positions of responsibility within the general public. So it was a refreshing thing when I came in '67, unknown by me, that this was so far back from New York City, which had already desegregated their schools. I had no idea that the real problem in this area was to bring the cultures together and begin to change the way we functioned. And it wasn't because of the technology, it was because the environment provided the laboratory for us to do these things that came forth. And some were excellent, and some were good, and some we had to change because they didn't work. So there was an experimental environment within the university that it's okay to do what you want to do as long as you lift up to two important pieces. One, the quality of your student and the quality of your center. I didn't do that. It grew out of bringing in people who are willing to take on responsibility for building their environment in such a way as to have an impact on the people who enrolled in the environment. We happened to be also in a period of time when the computing was coming into existence. In the first 3 years of our program in the EDD and Ed Leaders, we didn't have a computer. We had the telephone and the jet. That's all we had. So it wasn't the technology, it was the people that came to create a different kind of environment so that we could be more successful in building the kind of communities that we wanted. So I owe that to all of you who came at a time when we were still arguing and debating in the courts and out of the courts what we were going to look like eventually. And when I retired from the presidency in 1992, I figured that this institution had demonstrated to me that it would continue its direction. It would find other vehicles and other ways to do it. And I learned by watching what was going on in our environment that the institution starts at the top. And so when I fought the battles, along with the rest of you, and came to a point where I felt that I had made my contribution through that argument, that fighting period, and that we would be a healthy institution. Yes, changes will be made, both inside and outside, but basically that Nova would survive and function effectively. Then I said to myself, get out while you can. Don't stay too long, because if you stay too long, you're going to become part of the problem, not the solution. And so I gave a year's notice, stayed out of making choices and bringing people in, and now you're in the process of taking another step in a similar direction, because the leader we now have at this university, I'm talking about Ray Ferreira and George Hanbury, is that they have a vision of 2020. Don't ask me what that vision is yet, but I know they're in the process of implementing the changes that are necessary in their eyes in order to produce the product they're looking to produce. And it's too early in time to know whether that's going to be better than what we have, equal to what we have, but it's a way of progress being made in incremental stages. So if you want to make your changes, you have to bring in new cultures at the top of it to be able to encourage the changes that you see taking place at Nova University. Some of it I'm excited about. Some of it I'm not so excited about. But that's not what's important. What's important is we have a leader that has a vision, is bringing about changes in the organization and structure, and providing an opportunity for people to take ownership of a new design, which hopefully will produce and be more effective. So I want to thank you. I want to thank all the names of the people that were up there. You took them down too quickly. You people did this. The motivation for me was to get rid of all that stuff in the house. And I thought about that. And I said, you know, people ask me, who's James Farquhar? And they ask me about another person's name and someone else's name. And I said to myself, you know, the Fischler School carries my name. Somebody, when I'm gone 10 years from now, 15 years, whenever it comes about, they'll want to know, who was Abe Fischler? And we now have a museum being built out there as part of the changes we go through. But I'm glad that the people at the top of Nova now have a vision. They've been in the process of implementing them. They gave themselves time to do it. And in 2020, we'll know the results of what they're doing now. So work with them, work philosophically and hard work, and hold your thoughts, because you're in a transition period, and it will work out, because they were both here during my tenure. They helped me in the visions that I had, and it worked out then, and I'm sure the new visions will be just as successful. So again, I thank you for today. I thank you for coming to the ribbon cutting so that we can cut the ribbon, and it'll be easier to cut the ribbon than it was the chicken. But anyway, enjoy. Enjoy.
That is a tough act to follow. My name is Miriam Musco. I'm the secretary of the Fischler School of Education Student Government Association. And I just like to go over a few things that the Student Government Association has been doing and will be doing for this calendar year. This winter, we were part of the NSU Student Leadership Conference, the Winter Community Fest. We brought in guest speaker Dr. Rip Patton, educator and civil rights leader. And I had a Scholars Roundtable Monthly. Elections, I will talk about in a second. And here we are at the Distance Education Museum and Café dedication. And just as an aside, as a professional in the museum world, it excites me so much to be able to see a new museum open and to be part of that opening. This summer, we'll be hosting with Phi Gamma Sigma a brunch. We'll be part of the graduate celebration, and we'll be at the summer conference. And then in the fall, you can look forward to us being at the NSU homecoming at Sharkapalooza and having a student alumni and faculty gathering. And just one thing about elections, we are in the midst of the election process. We have had 4 returning executive board members submit applications to be a part of the Student Government Association again for the 2015-2016 year, as well as 3 new applications for senators. If you are a student or you know a really dedicated student who is looking forward to leadership within NSU, applications for our Student Government Association are still open until Friday. So please submit or encourage a student you know to submit. So that is what is going on with the Student Government Association. And again, we are very excited to be able to be a part of this wonderful event in this groundbreaking new museum. I'd like to introduce now Dr. Lisa Carbone, the Phi Gamma Sigma Vice President and a program professor in the Office of Licensure and Compliance.
Good afternoon. Instead of Lisa, who is our vice president, I'm Maria Gretel Mendez. I'm the president of Phi Gamma Sigma, so I'm coming in her place. It gives me great pleasure to be here this afternoon and talk to you a little bit about Phi Gamma Sigma. Phi Gamma Sigma was founded by Dr. Alan Cohen as a way of honoring and keeping outstanding doctoral graduates, Fischler graduates, engaged and together in a seamless and honoring them for their outstanding achievement. We have several events throughout the year that for these alumni, such as webinars, holiday events, community service. And in addition to that, we get together with current students and try to motivate them to do well in their doctoral studies. One of the things that we're going to be doing this summer, as Dr. Chenail mentioned, is we're going to have a presence at summer conference, and where we are going not only to tell them a little bit about our experience and do a small presentation, but also engage them and say, this is doable. You know, we are your lifeline. If the going gets tough, the tough get going with our help, and we, call on us. So this is all to come back and maintain the one NSU concept of community alumni that do return home. And NSU will forever be our home, and the Fischler School of Education will forever be our home. Okay, I would like to introduce a gentleman who has produced many TV interviews and specials on education with Dr. Fischler, going all the way back to the 1980s and up to the present. He and his company, RCP Productions, has produced hundreds of public affairs TV shows in the United States and many other countries that are broadcast nationwide, with in-depth interviews with VIP leaders in politics, education, and other areas, while promoting education and other good causes. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Richard Peritz. Dr. Peritz.
Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure and privilege to be with you here today. And after all of these eloquent words from others, there's very little more I can say other than dwelling upon legacy and counting our blessings. I've had the privilege of knowing Dr. Fischler ever since I came to this country about 30 years ago, and following the progress of NSU, Nova Southeastern University, to now be one of the leading educational institutions in the United States. And a personal privilege to be so close to this family of NSU. And again, I would like to applaud you, my dear friend, Dr. Fischler, Shirley, all of you. So please forgive me if I get sentimental a little bit, but this is like being among family, and I had notes, but who needs notes really? Distance learning and legacy, promoting education, one of the few redeeming features in our troubled world. And we take so much for granted living in this most benevolent of democracies, the United States. And I'm thinking of all of you here, the family of Nova, and all your students, and the important impact you have on bettering our society. And of course, celebrating the liberties we celebrate in this country, we must also acknowledge educational leaders who help make this happen. I can't mention you all, Dr. Chenail and others, but people like Dr. Saltzman, who I'll introduce in a moment, professors such as Dan Markarian, former US Marine with us here, Professor Michael Simonson, all of you together create this environment of education which furthers this important cause. I've had the privilege of interviewing Abe over the years, good Lord, so many programs, and of course many others, and they'll be available and are already available online. I hope to do a lot more to further education. And on this happy note, I'd like to introduce my friend Dr. Saltzman, Associate Dean of Nova University, Fischler School of Education, and also I'd like to invite Dr. J.B. Manburg, please.
Thank you, everyone. 4 common words I heard, or adjectives I heard today: create, lead, inspire, and legacy. And they couldn't ring more true to me. And to honor Dr. Fischler in this way is really just amazing. I can't think of a better way to culminate the academic year with recognizing Dr. Fischler and his legacy. Just a quick note to the SGA and how far you've come along. Student Government Association, can you please stand up for a moment? The executive officers, just one moment. Can you please give them a round of applause, please? Thank you. Your work has inspired thousands of students who've depended on you for your leadership, your support, your guidance. You've served as the voice of the student Fischler body for the past 3 years. And you've owned and accepted this role to the best of your ability. And I've watched some of you grow and develop over the years as true professionals, and it's really exciting for me. Many people don't understand the work and the time that goes in to the Student Government Association and all the work that you do. But I understand. I can surely explain that you have full-time jobs, you have families, you have other obligations above that, and that's not including your SGA responsibilities. It's not easy, it's very hard work, and your time and your efforts do not go unnoticed. In the summer of 2012, Dean Brad Williams and Dr. Faulkner asked to meet with me and to discuss the opportunity for the Fischler School to initiate their own SGA. And the first thing I said was, well, wait a minute, Dean Williams wants to meet with me, really? That's great. I didn't even know he knew who I was, but that's very exciting. Doesn't even matter what the meeting was about. So I got to the meeting, and they indicated, first thing they said was that the Fischler College was the only school at NSU without an SGA. So this was important to know. And we're the only college without representation on the Pan SGA. Now, we all know how important the Pan SGA is, right? So if you miss one meeting on the Pan SGA, what do? They freeze your accounts. You miss a second meeting, and you're definitely frozen almost for the whole year. So it's very important. We made sure not to miss any Pan SGA meetings. It's not a joke. But we worked hard, and we accomplished a lot. And so after that meeting with Dean Faulkner and Dean Williams, I immediately went over to Dean Singleton, and I pled the case that we need an SGA to start at Fischler. And I found a group of 6 like-minded faculty members who were on the same board with me. And we met with Dr. Saltzman, and within 6 months, we had our own SGA elections, and we were already on board in 2012 to 2013 with starting our own SGA. So it was very exciting. So Dr. Faulkner indicated that he had never seen a college move so fast to start an SGA as we did, and we were proud of that. So yes, it is very exciting to me to see how you've come along. Dr. Fischler, what can I say that hasn't already been said? Just to be here to support your legacy and how you've developed this institution and everything you represent, even just to say a few words, is a true honor for me. Thank you for your leadership, your inspiration, and vision for the character of this university. When I go home and call my dad, it's his birthday today, I'm going to tell him, he'll tell me how proud he was of this day. Not proud of me, but proud of you for what you've accomplished. It's quite extraordinary. I want to thank the SGA for your hard work in putting this event together. Thank you for Dr. Markarian. Where is he? Where's Dr. Markarian? The unsung hero right here. Please give him a round of applause. He doesn't like the accolades, he doesn't like a lot of attention, but I know how hard you work, and we really appreciate it. And it's not only for demonstrating your leadership to the SGA, but living it every day. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Manburg. The Student Government Association for initiating this outstanding legacy project, and of course, you, Dr. Fischler, for your passion, your vision, and your talent. Greetings, sharks. Let's try that again. Greetings, sharks. Let's see your shark pride. How many alums are in the audience? Can I see a show of hands? May I see your fins? Fins up? You are invited here today to join us in a new conversation, a conversation about you. Not just about who is giving and to what, but how you're contributing your educational success, your thought leadership, your expertise, influence, inspired globalism in the real world. Nova Southeastern University, the Abraham S. Fischler School of Education, wants to know about you. We want to recognize and celebrate your excellence. You exemplify NSU's core values. You possess academic excellence. You're student-centered. You serve with integrity in your lives, field of study, and careers. You value opportunity, scholarship, research, diversity, and sense of community. It is you that creates the reputation of the university. Your engagement is critical to our growth. Your volunteerism builds alliances and friendships, and it is your donations and support that sustains this university. The rewards of giving are infinite and part of the legacy of lives well lived. We want to hear your voice in what we hope will become a new, timely, and rewarding conversation. We want to honor your success. Our dean, Dr. Chenail, Dr. Chenail, where are you? Dr. Chenail enjoys writing letters recognizing your achievements and relishes in your success. Yes, I do. The idea of knowing that your education has served you well. You are a student for a few years, but an alumnus forever. Let's have that conversation soon, okay? We want to hear from you. Before I go, I'd like to invite my colleague, Dr. Jamie Manburg, back up. And we would like to take a few moments to recognize Dr. Daniel Markarian, the SGA faculty advisor. Now let us just tell you that it's just one of many hats that Dr. Markarian wears. Dr. Markarian, would you please come up? After 2 years and lots of back to the drawing board moments, it's Dan's great vision and sense of optimism, persistence that made today a reality. Dan never gives up. Instead, he asks you, how can I make it better? How can we learn from this moment? And how can we be inclusive to build a better network? Dr. Markarian, today we applaud you. And we would like to present you with this certificate on behalf of Nova Southeastern University, Abraham S. Fischler School of Education, and the Student Government Association. This certificate is in gratitude of making this dream a reality. Thank you for sharing your magic. Thank you.